Okay, what's up? This is my bike, 2014 Dyna Lowrider. It's got about 26,000 miles on it. I use it as a daily commuter, about a 80-mile round trip every day, unless it's raining. I put some forward controls on it. It's got the Pisani Road Rage 2. I don't know if you'd see stage 1 air cleaner. USA trailer store. T-Sport fairing. I actually painted myself, and I just wet sanded it last week. It doesn't look too bad. It's already got a couple rock chips in it, but whatever, I'll just repaint it. But this is the reason for my video. As you can see, I put these forward controls on. This bike comes stock with mid controls, and I traded them like an idiot. I should have never done that, because now I'm going back to mid controls. I had bought the controls prior to this happening, which actually really sucks. It happened to me while I was leaving my office. Thankfully, I wasn't too far from my facilities guys who helped me out with some duct tape and zip ties, which was able to get me home. But now, since this has to be replaced, in order to get your mid controls back on, you actually have to run a shaft through. Your shift shaft runs through the primary right here. I have it plugged right now because when I pulled my old ones off, I didn't want to leave a gaping hole right here, so I bought this plug from Harley. It was a couple bucks, just plugged it in, and made it look a lot better. But in order to get the shift shaft back in there, we have to remove the outer primary cover, the clutch basket, the compensator, the cam chain tensioner, the primary chain tensioner. Once all that's out, you still need to remove this black part right here, which is the inner primary cover, which is held on by 5 bolts with gaskets. I'll show them to you when I pull them out. All that just to be able to slide that shaft through and then bolt it all back together. Big pain in the ass. So, let's get to it. Loosen her up. And get your drain pan under there. Metal shavings off of your magnetic plug, and we'll go from there. Okay, next you're going to want to, after it's all drained, I should mention that I actually put the drain plug back in there just so I don't have to deal with oil dripping everywhere. The next thing you're going to want to do is remove these 5 derby cover bolts. Uses a Torx bit, T27, I believe. Okay, so luckily, since I'm a lazy person, I managed to find 3/16 3/16 hex bit, I guess, and I'm going to use my impact gun because I'm super lazy. Now you're going to want to keep track of all your screws where they go, because the bolts in front are longer than all the other bolts that hold the primary cover on. So let's go ahead and we'll just start. Oh, that's not good. Well, looks like this thing's already rounded out. So that was a bad idea. looks like I did. Okay, so I got everything loose. I haven't removed it yet. I just wanted to show you this nut that got stripped right here. Little stripped out, not too bad. I managed to get it loose with the same, what was it, 3/16 Allen. So that's good. I'll probably end up replacing this once I can get to Harley. But for the time being, it's fine. I'm not worried about it. So we go ahead and take this off and pull this primary. Okay, so here's the last bolt coming out. Not a lot of oil came out, none at all actually, which is good for me, I guess. Unless it all pours out right now. Now here's one of the longer bolts. Oh no, now there's some dripping. You're going to notice that there's 4 of these bolts, and they just go in these first 1, 2, 3, 4 front holes of the primary. The other bolts are significantly shorter, as you can see, and those go in the remainder. Just something to be aware of. You'll probably find out if you put them in wrong and your rear bolts are sticking out way too far. But here she comes. Oh, fuck. Mine actually came off with the primary. It's still connected with the, or sealed on the primary. As you can tell, there's no gasket around here because it came off with the primary cover. Now if you notice here, we have our compensator sprocket with this big, I forgot the size, I'll tell you in a moment, I have it. So this bolt is going to come out. Then we're going to disassemble this clutch assembly by the clutch pack by taking out this nut, this whole plate with the adjuster, and the snap ring. Before we do that, we need to remove the primary chain tensioner. The best way to do that, because once you take tension off it, it's going to expand. So the best way to do that is to kind of fish a zip tie through here, wrap it around, and close it off. That way this chain tensioner won't expand. It's not a big deal if it does. You can always squish it back down and click it back into place. It just makes things a little easier for when we remove it by taking off these 2 bolts. Alright. Okay, so if you can see, I got my zip tie on there to hold that in place for when I remove it. When I remove these 2 bolts right here, 1/2 inch bolts. Probably should have worn gloves. And there's the other one, just pops right out, no problem, held in place with the zip tie. It's not going to pop out, get any looser. What you want to do is always check for wear. You know, there's some slight wear on this shoe. I probably should replace it. My bike has almost 30,000 miles on it, at 25. I don't know if you can see the 3 grooves that are formed in there, but from the chain riding on it. These things are about $100. In my opinion, they're kind of stupid because you cannot replace the shoe by itself. You have to replace the whole assembly. So depending on your wear, it's something you might want to think about how many miles you got. It looks like I'm probably gonna have to replace this, just for peace of mind. I'm sure it could go another 15,000 miles, but we're in here already, we might as well replace it. Okay, these bolts in here, put it away, and I am going to drink a beer and I'll be right back. Okay, so I didn't get to drink a beer. I had to end up cutting this block of wood, which I thought was long enough, but apparently it was too long. So anyway, you're gonna need a block of wood unless you have a special tool to lock your compensator gear against your clutch basket, because you're gonna be fighting against both of these things. If you just try to take it out, it's going to be impossible to loosen this nut or loosen your clutch basket nut if you don't have something in here blocking the gears from moving. But yeah, so this compensator bolt is actually a Torx bit on this bike. This is a 2014 lowrider, so it's a T70 Torx bit, and it's on there pretty good. I think it's 140 pounds is what it's torqued to. But yeah, so you're probably going to want a breaker bar or some extension on your ratchet to crack that loose, because it's going to be a pain in the ass. So let me see if I can do it without it. Oh, had that on the wrong way. Let's see. Put that to lock. Yeah, I'm gonna need a breaker bar or a handy dandy metal pole that I can use as a breaker bar. Not 100% sure because I don't have a manual, which is pretty stupid on my end, but to be honest with you, I've been working on motorcycles for so damn long. I know them pretty well. I don't know why they tell you not to reuse this, what their reasoning is behind it. It's not, I mean, it's a pretty thick quality bolt. It's not gonna snap. Better knock on wood, huh? For when I put it all back together and then the fucking motor blows up. Anyway. Okay, let me get this piece out of here so we can move on. And yeah. Okay, next we are going to remove this lock, the clutch adjustment lock nut. It's an 11/16. Again, you're going to want to have your stopper in place. This time it's going to go the other way. Reinstall everything and get ready before you hit the road. So there you go. It's always a good idea to have a good set of snap ring, circlip, whatever you want to call them, pliers. I say that because these are garbage that I bought from Harbor Freight. I don't know if you can tell, but they're all bent and tweaked. Anyways, we're gonna get it to work. I don't know if you can see in here, right at the left prong is a circlip that we're gonna remove, and that will allow us to take the, or at least access the clutch hub nut, I believe is what it's called. I don't know what it's called. There's a nut back there that we need to get to. This is really boring for you, so I'm going to stop. Come back when I get it off. Okay, there it is. Took some finagling. Finally got the son of a bitch out. I'm going to keep that and reuse it. And this piece will pop. Whoop, will pop right out. This is why you need your bike on a stand. You don't want this whole setup coming out sliding at you. This is just your clutch adjuster. Keep that to the side. It's labeled out, so you know which way to put it back in. And you want this clutch rod out of here. Just slides in. No big deal. Alright, now we are at the meat of what we want to get to. To remove this clutch basket, we need to remove this nut. That guy's on there pretty good. I'm not even sure if I have the right ratchet, or I'm sorry, the right socket size for it. I believe it's 1 3/8. Don't quote me on that. I do have that socket, and I'm praying that is the right one, so let's see. Inch and 3/8 seems pretty big, and yeah, that's way too big. That's not the right one. I also have 1 1/4 inch, and that, I don't know. I don't think that fits. It's one of these 12 points. Seems to be a little loose. I don't want to risk it and strip something else, so let me see. I might have to go to Home Depot or something to pick up a ratchet or a socket. Okay, another thing that I forgot to mention is this is actually a reverse thread. So you're going to be going the opposite direction to loosen it. There we go, it's going. I didn't have to end up buying a new nut. I'm using this 1 1/4, and it's not slipping or stripping. It seems to be working fine. Might want to rethink that though when I'm going to tighten it back up again. Bolts just doesn't feel right loosening it while you're tightening it, if that makes any sense. Okay, so there it is. There's some red Loctite on it. That's probably why it felt like it was stripping when it wasn't. Now, actually, okay, fuck. Well, there's that. These stupid plates should have stayed on there, but they didn't. That's okay, we'll remove those. And there's the assembly. Now the next thing we're going to want to remove, I didn't realize this until I looked, and how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be, are the starter bolts. There's two hex head starter bolts. I don't know if you can see that. There is one located right here, and another one behind it on this side. Now you're going to need some pretty long Allen keys to reach them, because you actually have to do it from the other side of the bike and run it through there. And the dyna's got the battery box and all this electronics garbage kind of blocking your way. On the bigger baggers and stuff, you kind of don't, you don't have that. A little easier to access, but we'll figure it out. I'll find some tools and get to it. Okay, so I couldn't reach those starter bolts, so I had to run to Home Depot and I had to pick up a set of these long socket extension hex wrenches. So I managed to break everything loose on the starter and get it out of there. I left them loose, and I didn't get it out of there. I left it loose in its place for now. Also, on the drive, I was thinking about that engine compensator bolt that I said I was thinking about not replacing. And for what they charge, it's a couple bucks. I think it's like $10. It'd be really idiotic for me not to replace it. Another thing I noticed I said was it gets torqued down to 140 pounds, but that's not correct. It's actually 175. So I'll show you that when I get there. Right now, we're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts that hold that inner primary on, and we'll be able to pull it out and finally get to the other side of this hole where we can slide our shift shaft through. So these, again, there's 5 of them. They're half inch. A half-inch socket will do the job. So if I could find my damn oh, here we go. So let's get to that. The only thing that sucks is I don't have that compensator bolt, the new one. It's about $5.15 right now. I'm not going to try to run to Harley and get it, so I'm going to be a little delayed in this project until tomorrow. The bike's already been out of commission for almost a week, sitting in my garage, just because I've been too lazy. Well, not too lazy, it's just too much to do with kids and school and all that shit. But let's get these off. These are the in the beginning of the video I told you that these needed to be replaced when they were pulled out, as these bolts have gaskets. Let me get this one out and I'll show you. As you can see, there's a gasket on there. You don't really want to reuse those if they've already been torqued down and tweaked, and they're probably not going to stop any fluids from getting through. I already picked those up from Harley. They were pretty expensive. They were like $4 or $5 a piece. I think it was $20 for all 5 of them. But it's just something, you should do. Better safe than sorry. So I'm going to get the rest of these out and come back when we pull this cover off. Okay. Here is the moment of glory, right? We got our starter loosened up. Let's make sure that it's broke loose from this inner cover. Doesn't really seem to be. Got the bolts out. I don't know. Oh shit. Well, there it goes. There it goes. That's okay. We got it. Pops right out. I had to push in on the starter to break it loose from sitting so long. It's never been apart, and it kind of just got a little grinded on there. This is a gasket for your compensator. It only goes in one way. There's 2 little dowels on there. I don't know if you can see that one right there. Then another one on the other side, and there's actually 2 holes, little locating pins right there and right there. So when you reinstall this gasket, I'm sorry, when you install your new gasket, just be mindful of that. I actually picked one up today at Harley. It was about, I don't even know, 15 bucks. But that's going to get replaced. And we got this inner primary off. Put that aside. And I don't know why there's so much play in my drive belt, but we'll get that situated. That's an easy fix. So here it is, my broken Heim joint, the shift shaft. I'm going to leave this on because the shaft itself is still good. I'm going to replace the Heim joint with my new control kit, and we'll go from there. So I need to charge my camera. It's dying on me, but next we're going to install that shift shaft on the back of that inner primary and then bolt everything back up. Okay. So we got the inner primary cover back installed. You can see the starter is flush with the cover. It took a little work to push it back through, but there are actually some dowel pins on the other side. So make sure you have your dowel pins lined up before you try to push it through. It'll make it a lot easier. These 5 bolts with the gaskets on them have a special torque sequence. Now it's basically like any other torque sequence. You want to go in a cross pattern, kind of like a star, you know, not tighten up one side and then tighten up the other. That's going to warp everything. So what I did was I started down here, I worked my way up here, over here, all the way back here, and then this top one. And I believe it's 10 foot-pounds. Like I said, I don't have a manual. I was thinking about that earlier. Pretty stupid of me not to have a manual and try to tear into this thing. But like I said, I'm not scared. I'm pretty confident in my mechanical ability, so I would recommend getting a manual. I'm actually trying to buy one right now. I'm just too cheap and I don't want to spend the money. Another thing, you can see I have my shift linkage installed in the new shift shaft, which runs through the middle of the primary. Wasn't there before. I did notice, I bought this kit used off eBay. It's for a 2006 plus dynas, so it'll function no problem. The only thing I noticed on this shaft was there were some wear marks from where they sit on the outer primary cover and on the inner primary cover. Now there's no fluid that runs through here or anything. It's not going to leak. You could actually remove yours, and you know, I showed you earlier I had that chrome plug. If you didn't run the plug, nothing's going to come out. You don't need to worry about that. It's for aesthetics. Anyways, I noticed there was a little bit of wear where these ride on the primary covers, so I grabbed some lithium grease and just threw it on there, made sure that it's not going to, you know, wear funny or break or do something stupid like that. That could have been prevented since I had it open. So there you go. Now we're just going to reinstall the clutch basket and the compensator plates and the compensator, and the primary chain tensioner. But like I said, I'm replacing, per Harley you should replace the compensator bolt, which I did not end up getting, even though I asked the guy at Harley, you know, to give me one, or should I replace it. He kind of didn't know what I was talking about, which is usually the case with the dudes that work at the parts counter. But anyways, I'll pick one up tomorrow. There's a Harley right down the street from my office, and we'll continue this video and we'll get her back together tomorrow.